Welcome to this video called Is God Evil? The Genocide of the Amalekites. One of the most popular arguments against the justice of the God of the Bible is the great slaughter of the Amalekites. The total genocide of their people is a popular argument used to say that the God of Israel is a wicked, genocidal God. To really get into the heart of the issue, we should start with the passages commanding their total destruction. Now, go and strike Amalek, and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. This is 1 Samuel, or 1 Samuel 15 verse 3. There's a lot to get into, but firstly, we need to understand that the land was divided into portions by Noah for his sons' inheritances. Because Shem was righteous and Ham behaved wickedly, Shem was appointed the greatest land, while Ham was appointed the least favorable land. Here is what an old Jewish text called the Book of Jubilees says. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem and Ham and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each, in the first year in the first week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession, and they reached forth their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot in the middle of the earth, which he could take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water of the river Tina, and his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and it extends till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea Miat, and this river flows into the great sea. And all that is towards the north is Japheth's, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. And it extends till it reaches Carasso. This is the bosom of the tongue which looks towards the south. And his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue which looks towards the south. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And for Ham came forth the second portion, below the Gigon, towards the south of the right of the garden, and it extends towards the south, and it extends unto all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west to the sea of Etel, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Maok, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. And it goes forth toward the north to the limits of Gadir, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gihon. And it goes along the river Gihon, till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy forever for himself and his sons unto their generations forever. And Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth to Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, which is Egypt, and to the west of him for Put, and the west of him and the west thereof on the sea of Canaan. And Shem also divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Ham and his sons, to the east of the river Tigris, till it approaches the east, the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and all the mountains of Mebri and Elah, and all the land of Sasan, and all that is on the the side of Farnak, to the Red Sea, and the river Tina. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons. And thus the sons of Noah divided unto their sons in the presence of Noah their father, and he bound them all by an oath, imprecating a curse on every one that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen by his lot, or fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, So be it, so be it. for themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations till the day of judgment, on which the Lord God shall judge them with a sword, and with fire for all the unclean wickedness of their errors, wherewith they have filled the earth with transgressions and uncleanness and fornication and sin. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good. And he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan, and from the border of the sea. And Ham his father, and Cush, and Mitzrayim his brother said unto him, Thou hast settled in a land which is not thine, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so. For if thou, or you, does do so, you and your sons will fall in the land, and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition you have settled, and by sedition will your children fall, and you shall be rooted out forever. Dwell not on the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed are you, and cursed shall you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath, in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not hearken unto them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon, for Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. I did a little bit of translating there because it's clearly written in Old English. As is shown, Canaan dishonorably stole the land that rightfully belonged to Shem. Having swore an oath, justice must be served. Although future descendants aren't responsible for the actions of their parents, the wicked act against righteous Shem could not be ignored. Here is where the trouble begins. Either our Creator ignores the oath, and injustice happens against righteous Shem, or he judges the descendants of Ham, and his later descendants suffer unjustly. What then can be done to preserve justice? The descendants were given a means of obtaining mercy. If a stranger shall sojourn with you, and would keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Then he may come near and keep it. He shall be as a native born of the land. But no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. There shall be one law for the native, and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Exodus 12, verse 48 to 49. We are clearly told here that if someone comes into the land and keeps the law, they will be considered as native born. In fact, this exact thing happened with Rahab. When Israel approached Canaan, Rahab helped the spies survive by hiding them from their authorities. Committing herself to their God, she and her family were protected and became part of Israel. Peter addresses this very matter to Clement in the homilies of Clement. There is amongst us one Justa, a Syrophoenician, by race a Canaanite, whose daughter was oppressed with a grievous disease. And she came to our Lord, crying out, and entreating that he would heal her daughter. But he, being asked also by us, said, It is not lawful to heal the Gentiles, who were like to dogs on account of their using various meats and practices, while the table in the kingdom has been given to the sons of Israel. But she, hearing this, and begging to partake like a dog of the crumbs that fall from this table, having changed what she was, by living like the sons of the kingdom, she obtained healing for her daughter, as she asked. For she being a Gentile, and remaining in the same course of life, he would not have healed had she remained a Gentile, on account of it not being lawful to heal her as a Gentile. Actually, this happened various other times as well. Many Egyptians fled from Egypt with Israel. Ruth, additionally, was permitted in Israel on the basis that she became an Israelite. Being a Moabite, the God of Israel forbade her from ever entering Israel forever. Had she remained a Moabite, she could never have become the great-grandmother of King David. Because she renounced her Moabite ways, however, she was granted a portion with Israel and became greatly blessed. Mercy, then, could be obtained by any Canaanite that renounced their pagan gods and embraced our Creator and His ways. Had they repented, not a single person would have been killed. When the Amalekites were killed, therefore, and also the Canaanites, it was a judgment for their unrepentance. When the Lord your God cuts off before you the nations whom you go in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take care that you be not ensnared to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, How did these nations serve their gods? That I may also do the same. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abominable thing that the Lord hates they have done for their gods, for they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. Deuteronomy 12, verse 29 to 31. As is clearly shown, the context for their destruction was that these nations were doing abominable things like sacrificing their children unto their gods. Their judgment was just, since they did great wickedness in the land. Although the judgment of the nation was just, there remains 3 points of contention. Firstly, the children. Secondly, the animals. Thirdly, the wickedness of Israel warranting their own judgment. To start, I should state that I'm not entirely sure if the passages regarding the first two should be addressed. There is a strong likeliness that they are corruptions from the scribes. Although the parents did wickedness, the children had not necessarily done anything warranting their deaths. Thus, one might say that their deaths were undeserved. The animals were definitely innocent. Nevertheless, I will present a couple interpretations that could explain the matter. Regarding the children, there is one answer. Regarding the beasts, there is another. Regarding Israel, there is definitely an answer. Consider first that our Creator is just. Every judgment he does is just, and he recompenses those who suffer unjustly. In this context, we need to consider the situation for Israel and the situation for the children. Israel had dispossessed many nations due to their wickedness. It isn't possible for Israel to raise the children of every nation. Although the young children are innocent, there doesn't remain a people capable of properly caring for them. The wickedness of their parents brings suffering upon the children. Consider the king of a nation. When the king speaks thoughtlessly, the citizens suffer. If the king provokes another kingdom, his innocent people bear the consequences of his actions. Is it just? Not at all. Nevertheless, that is the consequence for free will and the consequence of authority. Likewise, the parents sinned against their children. Doing wickedness, they brought suffering upon their own children. This isn't just, but it is necessary response to free will. The key is our Creator's own justice. Every action is taken into account, and every injustice is rectified. When the innocent are unjustly persecuted, our Creator sees and repays them accordingly. There will come a day when every innocent life is abundantly recompensed for their suffering. In this context, the innocent children unjustly perish, but are considerately recompensed for their suffering on the day of judgment. In this sense, their deaths are a mercy. Before their parents can teach them wickedness, they are spared from this deception and spared the consequences of their upbringing. It is tragic that they don't get to choose their future for themselves, but in a way it could also be a mercy. The animals are another matter, however. There are a number of interpretations. He who slaughters an ox is like one who kills a man. He who sacrifices a lamb like one who breaks a dog's neck. He who presents a grain offering like one who offers pig's blood. He who makes a memorial offering of frankincense like one who blesses an idol. These have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also will choose harsh treatment for them, and bring their fears upon them, because when I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they did not listen, but they did what was evil in my eyes, and chose that which I did not delight. Isaiah 66, verse 3 to 4. And the dead bodies of this people will be food for the birds of the air, and for the beasts of the earth, and none will frighten them away. Jeremiah 7, verse 33. The wild beasts will honor me, the jackals and their ostriches, for I give water in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, to give drink to my chosen people, the people whom I formed for myself, that they might declare my praise. Yet you did not call upon me, O Jacob, but you have been weary of me, O Israel. You have not brought me your sheep for burnt offerings, or honored me with your sacrifices. I have not burdened you with offerings, or wearied you with frankincense. You have not brought me sweet cane with money, or satisfied me with the fat of your sacrifices. But you have burdened me with your sins. You have wearied me with your iniquities. Your first father sinned, and your mediators transgressed against me. Therefore I will profane the princes of the sanctuary, and deliver Jacob to utter destruction, and Israel to reviling. Isaiah 43, verses 20 to 24, and 27 to 28. It is clear here that the sacrifices were considered a great wickedness, a shedding of innocent blood. Our Creator did not command any such thing. And even so, it appears as if Israel was commanded to destroy them all. Now go and strike Amalek, and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. 1 Samuel 15 verse 3. Whether he did command this or not, there is an answer for both interpretations. Although I will give you an explanation for both, I will start by showing you why I think these passages are entirely made up by whoever wrote this chapter. So Saul summoned the people and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 men on foot, and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek, and lay in wait in the valley. Then Saul said to the Kenites, Go down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the people of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites, and Saul defeated the Amalekites from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and devoted to destruction all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fattened calves, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. All that was despised and worthless they devoted to destruction. The word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me, and has not performed my commandments. And Samuel was angry, and he cried to the Lord all night. And Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning. And it was told Samuel, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument for himself, and turned and passed on, and went down to Gilgal. And Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen that I hear? Saul said, They have brought them up from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have devoted to destruction. Then Samuel said to Saul, Stop, I will tell you what the Lord said to me this night. And he said to him, Speak. And Samuel said, Though you are little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go, devote to destruction the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you pounce on the spoil and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said to Samuel, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord. I have gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me. I have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and I have devoted the Amalekites to destruction. But the people took the spoil, the sheep and the oxen, the best of the things devoted to destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. 1 Samuel 15 to 2 to 12 and 14 to 21. There are two key points of evidence that this was fabricated, other than the obvious passages that our Creator hates the shedding of innocent blood of his creatures. Firstly, the claim that our Creator repented of his appointing Saul king is evidence of this forgery. The word of the Lord came to Samuel, I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me, and has not performed my commandments. And Samuel was angry, and he cried to the Lord all night. 1 Samuel 15, verse 10 to 11. Peter very clearly points to this exact issue as clear evidence of scribal additions. This is in the homilies of Clement. For the scriptures have joined to them many falsehoods against God on this account. The prophet Moses, having by the order of God delivered the law, with the explanations to certain chosen men, some 70 in number, in order that they might also instruct such of the people as chose, after a little, the written law had added to it certain falsehoods contrary to the law of God, who made the heaven and the earth and all things in them, the wicked one having dared to work this for some righteous purpose. And this took place in reason and judgment, that those might be convicted who should dare to listen to the things written against God, and those who, through love towards him, should not only disbelieve the things spoken against him, but should not even endure to hear them at all, even if they should happen to be true, judging it much safer to incur danger with respect to religious faith than to live with an evil conscience on account of blasphemous words. But what I am going to tell you will be sufficient by way of example. But I do not think, my dear Clement, that anyone who possesses ever so little love to God and ingenuousness will be able to take in, or even to hear, the things that are spoken against him. For how is it that he can have a monarchic soul, and be holy, who supposes that there are many gods, and not only one? But even if there be but one, who will cherish zeal and be holy, that finds in him many defects, since he will hope that the beginning of all things, by reason of the defects of his own nature, will not visit the crimes of others? Wherefore, far be it from us to believe that the Lord of all, who has made the heaven and the earth, and all things that are in them, shares his government with others, or that he lies. For if he lies, who speaks truth? Or if he makes experiments as in ignorance, who foreknows? And if he deliberates and changes his purpose, who is perfect in understanding and permanent in design? And later, if he changes his mind, who is steadfast? The fact that the author speaks of Samuel as a separate person and writes that our Creator regretted making Saul king, as if experimenting in ignorance or changing his purpose, shows that this was written presumptuously by an unknown scribe. Further evidence of this is found in 2 Samuel 24. Again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, "Go, number Israel and Judah." And the king said to Joab, the commander of the army, who was with him, "Go through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and number the people, that I may know the number of the people." But Joab said to the king, "May the Lord your God add to the people 100 times as many as they are, while the eyes of the Lord the king still sees it. But why does the Lord the king delight in this thing?" But the king's word prevailed against Joab and the commanders of the army. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. 2 Samuel 24, verse 1-4. Whoever wrote the books of Samuel claimed that the God of Israel told David to take a census of Israel, and then punished him and all of Israel for doing so later. Interestingly, 1 Chronicles holds a very different opinion on the matter. Then Satan stood against Israel and incited David to number Israel. So David said to Joab and the commanders of the army, "Go, number Israel, from Beersheba to Dan, and bring me a report that I may know their number." But Joab said, "May the Lord add to this people 100 times as many as they are. Are they not my lord the king, all of them my lord's servants? Why then should my lord require this? Why should it be a cause of guilt for Israel?" But the king's word prevailed against Joab. So Joab departed and went throughout all of Israel and came back to Jerusalem. According to the author of the books of Samuel, our Creator told David to take a census of Israel, and then punished him and Israel for it. The author of the books of Chronicles, however, very clearly believed that Satan is the one who deceived David into this wicked act. Since they are directly contradictory, at least one must be false. Since James clearly stated that our Creator doesn't tempt people, and the law writes that our Creator does not lie, it is apparent that the author of the books of Samuel wrote this falsehood. Nevertheless, I will explain the just explanation if there was indeed such a command. The answer is simple. Foreknowing the wickedness that Israel would do with the spoils, he commanded the destruction of such things to remove the temptation from them. This is just because our Creator always recompenses those who unjustly suffer a much greater extent than the injustice they suffered. Every innocent creature that was destroyed will be justly recompensed for their suffering in the resurrection, and so this injustice is actually for their benefit. Having addressed the first two issues, I will now address the third issue, Israel's wickedness. One might say that Israel was unqualified to judge the nations, since Israel was even more wicked than the nations they dispossessed. This is true. And yet wicked nations were also used for judgment. The king of Assyria judged Israel, but Judah was spared. The king of Babylon judged Assyria, and also Judah and the remnants of Israel for 70 years as punishment. Had Judah and the remnants of Israel accepted their punishment, Babylon would have treated them well. The king of Greece judged Babylon, but treated Judah fairly well after her 70 years of punishment were finished. Wicked nations regularly brought judgment upon wicked nations, but Israel did not escape her punishment. Actually, Israel was scattered when Assyria invaded, and Jerusalem was punished doubly for her transgressions. For thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will silence in this place, before your eyes and in your days, the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. And when you tell this people all of these words, and they say to you, Why has the Lord pronounced all this evil against us, this great evil against us? What is our iniquity? What is the sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? Then you shall say to them, Because your fathers have forsaken me, declares the Lord, and have gone after other gods, and have served and worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and not kept my law, and because you have done worse than your fathers, for behold, every one of you has followed and follows his stubborn evil will, refusing to listen to me. Therefore I will hurl you out of this land, into a land that neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods day and night, for I will show you no favor. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when it shall no longer be said, As the Lord lives, who brought up the people out of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but as the Lord lives, who brought up the people of Israel out of the north country, and out of all the countries where he had driven them. For I will bring them back to their own land that I gave to their fathers. Behold, I am sending for many fishers, declares the Lord, and they shall catch them. And afterwards I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and every hill, and out of the clefts of the rocks. For my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hidden from me, nor is their iniquity concealed from my eyes. But first I will doubly repair their iniquity and their sin, because they have polluted my land with their carcasses of their detestable idols, and have filled my inheritance with their abominations. Jeremiah 16, verse 9 to 18. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes, and of earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. To be clear, Mystery Babylon is Jerusalem, but that is covered in another video. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he called out with a mighty voice, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, lest you share in her plagues. For her sins are heaped as high as heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Pay her back as she herself has paid back others, and repay her doubly for her deeds. Mix a double portion for her in the cup she mixed. As she glorified herself and lived in luxury, so give her a like measure of torment and mourning, since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen. I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. For this reason her plagues will come in a single day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be burned up with fire, for mighty is the Lord God who has judged her. And the kings of the earth, who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her, will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning. They will stand far off, in fear of her torment, and say, "Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city, Babylon, for a single hour your judgment has come." This was fulfilled in 70 AD, when Jerusalem was terribly judged and destroyed. With all this in mind, the judgment against the Canaanites and Amalekites were entirely just, and accusations cannot be reasonably made from them against the God of Israel. I hope this helps you when someone tells you that our God is wicked. I hope that you take a lot from this video and can use it to understand our Creator better in the future. Have a wonderful day. Until next time.